Baltimore City Council president takes the stand in his ex-wife's federal trial, how he's taking responsibility for the former state's attorney's charges under oath. A 15-year-old convicted of rape is allowed to return to school. Why an advocate for these crimes say laws in place don't help the victims at all. Then Ravens fans are hyped up for Sunday's AFC Championship game.
It's like another holiday.
A look at how much you'll have to shell out to be part of the action.
Go Ravens!
Live from WBFF in Baltimore, this is Fox 45 News at 4.
And we come on the air today with breaking news. Mayor Brandon Scott officially appoints Stephanie Mavronis as the permanent director of Monzi, effective immediately. Mavronis took over as the interim director back in June after former director Shantae Jackson stepped down. Coming up tonight at 10, we're going to take a closer look at what this means for the future of Monzi, as well as the ongoing controversy surrounding the office.
If I get called, I'm going to participate.
City Council President Nick Mosby takes a stand today in federal court after being called on to testify on behalf of the defense, his ex-wife's mortgage fraud trial. Thank you for joining us. I'm Kai Jackson. And I'm Mary Bubala. The 2 counts of mortgage fraud stem from Marilyn Mosby's purchase of 2 Florida vacation homes. Fox 45's Mackenzie Frost has been following this legal battle now for 2 years. Mackenzie, who just stepped out of the courthouse in Greenbelt, joins us live with today's major developments inside the courtroom. Mackenzie?
Yeah, Mary, it was a long and oftentimes emotional day for Nick Mosby. The council president was called to take the witness stand just around 10 o'clock this morning, getting emotional when he was describing his relationship with his now ex-wife, Marilyn Mosby, talking about how she was his college sweetheart. Seeing photos of them during their time in college really sparked him to start to cry while on the witness stand. Now, during his testimony, he was questioned about the tax lien as well as the couple's tax debt. The council president admitting that he took sole responsibility for this, saying that he in fact did keep these issues from Marilyn Mosby, his wife at the time. He says that he felt like it was his responsibility. He says that it was his decisions that got him in that situation, and he did not want to stress Marilyn Mosby out by telling her about it. But eventually she found out about the tax lien. He says that the couple, along with their children, were in Florida at the vacation home that Marilyn Mosby purchased in the Orlando area when she got a text from a reporter asking her about the tax lien. He says that's when she first learned about it and was very angry about the news. Now, Nick Mosby's testimony actually contradicted itself at times, though, however, because at first he says that he did not tell Marilyn Mosby about getting a loan, but then later says that he did, and then circling back to saying maybe he did tell her about the loan. Eventually, the couple did take out a loan. Nick took out the loan to pay off some of the tax debt, and Marilyn Mosby was the co-signer. But this whole conversation really centered around the tax lien issue and that aspect of these charges. It did not touch on the fact that Marilyn Mosby told mortgage lenders that she would not rent out these properties, and it did not touch on the fact that she told the same lenders that she would use one of the properties as a primary residence, in fact, while she was still living in Baltimore. Mary?
And Mackenzie, what about cross-examination? How did Nick Mosby handle that?
Hasn't happened yet. There was a lengthy delay because the prosecutors really said that they wanted to go over several different buckets, as one of the assistant U.S. attorney's prosecutors put it. He said there were several buckets of issues that he wanted to go over. In fact, it took about almost an hour and a half with the judge going through point by point some of the questions that he wanted to ask. And now we are expecting the cross-examination to just now start. So I'm going to head back inside, and coming up at 5, I'll let you know what that cross-examination really looks like. We're live in Greenbelt. Mackenzie Frost, Fox 45 News.
Thank you, Mackenzie. Nick Mosby testified today that he knew about the tax lien on the home that he shared with Marilyn Mosby in Baltimore, and he kept that information from her, as Mackenzie mentioned. But when Fox 45 News asked Mr. Mosby about the tax lien, he repeatedly denied it.
Mr. Council President, hi.
I'm sorry, we're running a boat check.
Yeah,
you guys go over there.
I just wanted to ask you really quick. You've denied the existence of your tax lien on your property multiple times.
I have not multiple times.
Can you say that this is the actual lien on your property?
You can talk to my attorney.
No, Tom, there's no lien placed on my home right now. There was never a lien on my property. This is not a lien on the property. There was never a lien that was rendered on my property. There is no lien on my property. There's never been a lien on my property. It's not a lien on my property. I don't have a property lien.
For our full coverage on the Mosby trial and the latest developments from court, head to foxbaltimore.com.
A lot of sex offenders are very opportunistic, and putting them in a school, there's a lot of opportunity there.
Outrage tonight over a Project Baltimore investigation that found a convicted rapist was allowed to attend a Baltimore City public school.
This is just the latest example of issues with juvenile offenders in Maryland.
We have team coverage tonight, starting with Project Baltimore's Chris Papps. He explains under current state laws, some juvenile sex offenders are allowed to be in class with other students, meaning there could be more.
Kai, this is eye-opening data just released by the Department of Juvenile Services, which shows statewide juveniles were charged with about 338 felony sex offenses in fiscal year 2023. We can't see how many individuals were charged, just the number of offenses. Out of the charges that have been resolved, about 12 resulted in juveniles being committed to a DJS facility, while about 48 resulted in probation, meaning the juveniles who committed those 48 sex offenses could have ended up back in school. Just like the 15-year-old student at Patterson High School who received probation for sexually abusing a 3-year-old relative in May 2023. Records show the 15-year-old entered a plea in Harford County to second-degree rape, a charge that does involve intercourse. But he was not sent to juvenile detention. Instead, DJS recommended probation and counseling for sex offense-specific treatment. As a convicted rapist, he was ordered to have no unsupervised contact with children under 15. In January, just days after entering his plea, the now convicted rapist returned to class at Patterson High School in Baltimore City. Lisa Jordan, the executive director of the Maryland Coalition Against Sexual Assault, has been an advocate for sex abuse victims for more than 20 years and says it's important for Maryland to not forget about the victims.
You know, I think it's very important that we protect juvenile justice, that we are respectful of all children, but the way the regulations have been written in this situation, they don't seem to take victims into account at all. Second-degree rape, that's a serious charge.
Coming up tonight on Fox 45 News at 10, a closer look at the juvenile offense data provided by DJS. We'll also tell you specifically what Jordan says Maryland needs to do to keep students safer in public schools. I'm Chris Papst, and this is Project Baltimore.
Project Baltimore wants to hear from you. Do you have a story to share about your child's education or a concern you'd like our team to investigate? Call the tip line on your screen or send an email to projectbaltimore@foxbaltimore.com. You can also find us on social media.
Parents and victims across the state are sharing similar concerns, many of whom are calling for change to the criminal justice system to give victims more protection under the law. Tonight, Fox 45's Rebecca Pryor is speaking with legal experts about what specific changes they believe should be made. Rebecca?
Kai, time and time again, victims telling us that DJS isn't holding their attackers accountable, leaving them to live in fear while their offenders walk free. In addition to that story uncovered by Project Baltimore of a convicted rapist still legally allowed to attend city schools, 3 months ago, we also heard from the victim of an assault and robbery in Butchers Hill. The woman telling us she feared for her life as surveillance footage shows 2 young men tackling her to the ground. Police later arrested a 12 and 14-year-old for the attack, but just 2 hours later, the victim claims a DJS supervisor called to say that the suspects had already been released.
The law, I'm pissed off at the law. This should never, and what if this could have ended really badly? If I hadn't seen them behind me and turned, I could have hit my head. They had a screwdriver. They could have stabbed me if they really wanted to, you know? That's not okay.
Weighing in on the issue, legal expert and local attorney Jeremy Eldridge says new juvenile justice reform laws are mostly to blame for a lack of accountability. Under the new laws, DJS now has the authority to release young offenders instead of referring all cases to the state's attorney's office or a judge. Eldridge says in order for juvenile crime rates to decline, lawmakers need to make changes to that stipulation this session.
The message that the Department of Juvenile Services is sending youthful offenders is that you will not be held if you commit violent crime. We're not talking about shoplifting cases. We're talking about carjackings. And the state's attorney's office should have a say about whether violent crime is prosecuted in this city and in every other county in the state of Maryland.
New juvenile justice reform laws took effect in June of last year. Already since then, police and prosecutors across the city both reporting historically high juvenile crime rates. Reporting live in Baltimore City, Rebecca Pryor, Fox 45 News.
Rebecca, thank you. And that brings us to our question of the day. Are lawmakers protecting juveniles or the general public? The poll just opened. You can make your voice heard by heading to foxbaltimore.com/vote.
Fox 45's Mackenzie Frost and our team of reporters will be in Annapolis following every step of this year's legislative session over the next 2 months. Keep up with our coverage on air and online at foxbaltimore.com. Ahead of the AFC Championship game, Ravens players and coaches are getting some special honors from the NFL. Lamar Jackson is one of the 5 finalists for League MVP. The star quarterback has racked up more than 3,600 passing yards and 820 yards on the ground. He's also scored 29 touchdowns. Head coach John Harbaugh is also getting some recognition from the league. He is one of the 5 finalists for Coach of the Year. The Super Bowl winning coach led the Ravens to an NFL best record and the 4th AFC Championship game under his tenure.
Here's a cloudy look at M&T Bank Stadium tonight. Baltimore, as we've been telling you, is getting ready for the AFC Championship game this Sunday between the Ravens and the Kansas City Chiefs.
Let's get over to meteorologist Amy Aronson with a game day forecast. Amy?
Yeah, unfortunately, it's not going to be sunshine and warm temperatures. We have another round of rain coming just in time for that game on Sunday. I think the steadiest rain happens right around kickoff. After that, turning to more scattered showers, little breezy and also a little cool, too. So temperatures will start in the upper 40s and wrap up in the mid 40s as that game wraps up. So here are some things you want to bring if you are attending the game on Sunday at M&T Bank Stadium. Rain jackets, that's a must. Also layers, because it's going to be chilly out there. So don't forget your purple sweatshirts. Rain boots, a great idea. Also, don't forget your hats with temperatures falling through the 40s throughout the game. Now, in just a little bit, I will take you through the timeline for the rain in more detail, and I'll break down all the rain chances actually in the week ahead, too. Mary, Kai?
Well, it's hard not to think about what the Ravens can accomplish with 2 more wins, but the most important game is the next one. Why it's so easy for the team to keep its focus.
And how does Sheila Dixon plan to make Baltimore safe? The new crime plan the mayoral candidate is pitching.
Police confirm the suspect accused of killing a 6-year-old boy was involved in a crash just hours before. The new information we're learning tonight. taking you live to M&T Bank Stadium tonight, where the Ravens will take on the Kansas City Chiefs in the AFC Championship. The game is set for Sunday at 3. If the team wins, they are going to the Super Bowl. There is a lot of anticipation building heading into Sunday's big game. Residents across the city will have countless events to show off their purple pride. And tonight, we have team coverage on everything Ravens, helping you prepare for the big weekend. Amy Simpson taking a look at just how much fans are spending for tickets for the game and other events surrounding the game. Meteorologist Amy Aronson breaking down the weekend forecast, letting us know how fans need to dress for the festivities. And we're going to talk with Rocco DeSangro with more on how the team is preparing. Rocco?
Yeah, Mary, the team completed its second practice of AFC Championship week ahead of Sunday's showdown with the Chiefs. You've probably heard Lamar Jackson and other players talk about how locked in they've been throughout the season, so you can imagine how locked in they are for this one. And they have to be. The Chiefs have been there before. This is their 6th straight trip to the conference title game, and in that span, Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid have won 2 Super Bowls. While many of the Ravens haven't been to this stage before, Morgan Moses views that as a good thing when it comes to not looking ahead.
It's a little bit easier when you've never been this close. So, it's always just, what's in front of you right now, be where your feet are. And like I said, we have a great, group of veteran guys that have been there and haven't been there. So we got guys that know what it takes to get there, like Calvin Noy, and we have guys that are still hungry, like Kevin Zeitler, myself, and Javion Clowney, who are veteran guys that have put in the work and deserve the opportunity to be here right now. And it's our job to relish this opportunity and take care of the things that we have in front of us, and right now, that's Kansas City.
So a note from practice, dating back to last week, Mark Andrews was a full participant for the 4th straight practice, and that's a great sign ahead of the AFC Championship game against the Kansas City Chiefs. Still, John Harbaugh non-committal on Andrews' status for Sunday. Mary.
So great to have him back on the field. Well, as the Ravens make history this Sunday by hosting their first conference championship, there are expected to be massive crowds surrounding M&T Bank Stadium all weekend. So what is the best way to travel to and from the stadium? Today on Fox 45 Morning News, we spoke to a representative from our MDOT-MTA about your options.
We are running every available light rail train that we have in the fleet. So if it is available for service, we're going to be running it. We're also running express bus service from the Lutherville light rail stop and the Cromwell light rail stop. So you'll be able to jump on that bus, take it directly into the stadium. You don't have to wait stop by stop by stop coming in. Metro will be running, so you can run subway and you can get off at Charles Center, and it's about a 20-minute walk. You can walk right down to the stadium. We're also adding a little bit of service because we know a lot of folks are going to be coming into the game. It's really big. So we're going to be adding an extra train, a late Penn Station MARC train, leaving between 7 and 7:30. So when the game's over, you'll be able to walk out the Convention Center light rail stop, pick up a bus, and that bus will take you directly to Penn Station. You can jump on the MARC train and go home all the way to Union Station.
That's fantastic. Well, there will be numerous chances for fans to show off their purple pride in the next few days. Today through Saturday, the Ravens playoff pop-up shop has returned to M&T Bank Stadium. Fans will be able to choose from the largest selection of Ravens gear in the city. Plus, there will be free parking in Lot B. Tomorrow, the Ravens will take part in Playoff Purple Friday Caravan, making multiple stops throughout Howard County. And also tomorrow, there will be multiple Ravens rallies throughout Baltimore City. Ravens legends, cheerleaders, mascots, all going to be part of this, with each location offering Miller Lite specials. And you can find a full schedule plus any other events happening this weekend on our website, foxbaltimore.com. Well, you know what? It's okay, but the forecast not ideal for the game and all the festivities this weekend. Let's get right over to meteorologist Amy Aronson with more on what fans will be facing and really how they can prepare.
Exactly. And I want to start off with a little look back at some weather history. For the last time this game was played here in Baltimore, it was back in the 70s. So January 3rd, 1971 to be exact. This was the forecast that day. So low 40s, lows in the 20s. Actually a pretty seasonable day for January standards, and actually no rain. So they had a nice dry day for that game. Not going to be the case this year. We are tracking more rain heading towards Baltimore, heading towards M&T Bank Stadium for Sunday. But I don't think that's going to stop us from having a good time on Sunday out there. Right now, just looking a little foggy and a little misty. We're hanging out at 59 degrees. Unusually warm. Feels very mild compared to where we've been the past several weeks. We've got an easterly wind coming in at 3 miles an hour. But also take note of that dew point. That's increased a little bit. So we've also got some moisture on our hands as all that rain continues to move through. And that's been creating that fog. Fog has been a big issue all day long. Latest update, though, showing a nice clear scan here. So showing improving visibility consistently across our region. But we're not done with the rain just yet. We've got a lot of it off to our south and west. We've got more on the way tonight and then another round for the weekend, too. Here comes that next batch of showers. You can see that increasing in coverage there as it kind of blossoms and then tracks northeastward. So that should be in the Baltimore area within the next couple of hours. I think by 6 o'clock, we've got another batch of showers rolling through and then another round around 11 o'clock tonight. After that, we'll briefly dry things out for your drive tomorrow morning. Tomorrow afternoon also looks drier and nice and mild, too, before this cold front pushes through and ushers in some cooler air just in time for the weekend. Saturday starts off dry. Saturday evening, here comes that next round of rain. I think the heaviest with this round will come overnight Saturday through early Sunday morning. So if you plan to venture down to M&T Bank Stadium extra early on Sunday, it's going to be kind of soggy at that point. During the afternoon, we'll see some scattered showers ongoing for kickoff and throughout the game. And then after the game wraps up late Sunday night and a Monday morning, some colder air wraps in behind this system, cold enough for a few wet flakes to wrap in for daybreak on Monday. So back to reality on Monday. That's what we're up against. But before we get to that point, temperatures are all over the place. We're in the mid-60s tomorrow, nice and mild for all the Ravens festivities happening ahead of the big game on Sunday. I think rain returns late Saturday, and it's most likely on Sunday, unfortunately. For that game, it's also going to be breezy and much cooler, too, with temperatures in the mid-40s on Sunday. Looking at your full 7-day forecast shows all of our rain chances. Next one comes tonight through early tomorrow morning. After that, we get a break, and then more rain overnight Saturday through Sunday, on and off showers throughout the game. So just make sure you've got maybe a bright purple rain jacket ready for that, or a poncho. That round should wrap up early Monday morning. And after that, things look quiet next week. Next week definitely looks drier and more seasonable, too, with a long stretch of the low and mid 40s coming up. Mary?
Is social media an environmental toxin? The mayor of the nation's biggest city certainly thinks so. I'm Atra El-Nashar with how top officials say parents can act right away.
New York City is now the first major city in the nation to designate social media as a public health crisis. National correspondent Atra El-Nashar has a closer look at the issues social media companies say they're working to fix.
The mayor of America's biggest city taking on an issue parents across the country wrestle with every day.
Companies like TikTok, YouTube, Facebook are fueling a mental health crisis by designing their platforms with addictive and dangerous features.
New York City Mayor Eric Adams comparing social media to tobacco and guns. The city's health commissioner, Dr. Ashwin Vasan, issuing an advisory encouraging adults who interact with kids to implement tech-free times, discuss social media use in an open-minded way, and model healthy social media use.
We cannot stand by and let big tech monetize our children's privacy and jeopardize their mental health.
Scientific research is inconclusive. The American Psychological Association notes using social media is not inherently beneficial or harmful to young people. Platforms have been taking steps to address concerns. On Thursday, Meta, which owns Instagram and Facebook, added measures to protect minors from unwanted direct messages. And coming soon, a parental control for teens with supervised accounts if they want to change a setting.
Like who can message them, what their privacy of their account is, what their sensitive content control setting is. To anything more open, their parent is going to have to approve that.
Meta tells us it's not commenting directly on Mayor Adams' remarks, but said the use of the word addiction is often political, not scientific, and pointed us to their other safety features they say directly refute claims its platforms are dangerous, like help alerts for self-harm and eating disorders. Meta also facing a lawsuit brought by New Mexico's Attorney General, arguing Facebook and Instagram put minors in physical danger, alleging human traffickers searched Facebook for attractive young girls and sent them messages telling them that they were pretty and asking if they would like to make some money.
Meta also tells us they work with the authorities to root out predators on their sites. We're certain to hear more next week when top tech CEOs testify before a Senate panel. On Capitol Hill, I'm Atrel Nashar.
And that brings us to our national question of the day. Do you think social media is an environmental health toxin? To make your voice heard, head to foxbaltimore.com, click on the Pulse tab. Sheila Dixon is pitching voters her new crime plan, pressing the candidate on how she plans to crack down on violent crime, car thefts, and other key public safety concerns. From $400 to well over $1,000, Ravens fans are willing to do whatever it takes to get inside M&T Bank Stadium this Sunday. We're talking with those fans about what this game means to them.
Mayoral candidate and former Mayor Sheila Dixon unveiled her public safety plan today and how she plans to reduce crime in Baltimore.
A key theme of her message, accountability. Fox 45's Jessica Babb is live at City Hall with what Dixon plans to do if she is elected. Jessica?
Sheila Dixon says she plans to address staffing issues with Baltimore police. She wants to make sure DJS is adequately funded and positions are filled, and she wants to invest in youth programs to make sure they can be connected to the resources they need. But I also asked her about existing crime reduction programs and if she plans to change them.
Good morning.
Behind the podium.
There's nothing more important to the long-term health of our city than improving public safety.
Mayoral candidate Sheila Dixon addressing her plan for public safety.
The time for excuses is over. We need to raise our expectations. My neighborhood crime plan will make Baltimoreans safe.
Her message?
It's all about accountability. We need to be accountable from the mayor. Accountability, accountability, accountable leadership.
Summed up with one word.
For me, it's about accountability.
Her public safety plan includes focusing on using data and intelligence, using the gun offenders registry to follow up with people with gun crimes, and using a deterrence model to reduce crime.
We will go after the most violent offenders. We will target policing resources with a laser approach to prevent these individuals from reoffending.
When asked what she plans to do with safe streets, she says she'll reassess it.
It definitely needs to be evaluated. With the recent incidents that just happened at 2 of the sites, you know, we've got to really focus on those individuals that are hired, the accountability, and the public needs to kind of know more about what's going on. When they're out there, what are they doing?
With community concerns about the effectiveness of the group violence reduction strategy since the homicide rate has gone up in the Western District.
For us to have a 28% increase, it shows something totally didn't go right.
Is Brandon Scott's GVRS the right way to attack crime, or do you plan to do something different?
So, I mean, there are a lot of variables about that plan. And one thing that I don't believe in doing is playing with numbers. And I know that there's other efforts going on in West Baltimore as well. And so again, it's about collaborating, it's taking the good and building on that.
If she decides to, I asked what she would replace GVRS with.
It's really about assessing the current system and then determine what it would be replaced with.
Do you think the current systems, whether it be Safe Streets or GVRS, are working?
Well, all I know is that ROCA seems to be working very successfully, and there have been a lot of challenges with Safe Streets. And so for me, it's like it might be helping ROCA to expand since they're producing some real good results.
When it comes to quality of life crimes,
we're not seeing any citations or interactions around those issues.
Are you going to push police to make arrests in lower level crime so Ivan Bates' citation docket works?
So with that, with the docket and with the citations, that's not about arrests. That's about making individuals accountable and looking at some of the quality of life issues. And our police department needs to step up with that process.
So will you make sure police enforce those?
Oh, definitely. I think that's going to be a great tool where you're not arresting for quality of life crimes, but you're making folks, you're engaging them, and that's accountability.
And even though the focus of her message was clear,
we need accountability.
When I asked specifically how she plans to hold people accountable,
city government needs to be open 5 days a week. Our police department, when they're out in those communities, they need to be engaged and involved.
In her plan, she also outlines numerous efforts to make sure police, community partners, and officials are engaged and working together to address the issue. Jessica Babb, Fox 45 News.
Jessica, thank you. Well, just yesterday, Thuroo Vignarajah launched his second bid for mayor. The announcement sets up a rematch of the 2020 Democratic primary in which Mayor Scott, Dixon, and Vignarajah were the top 3 vote getters. Businessman Bob Wallace is also in the mayoral race. Back in December, a poll from Lake Research Partners showed 39% of support for Sheila Dixon, 31% support for Mayor Scott, and 10% for Wallace. 15% of those voters were still undecided. Fox 45 News will closely follow this race through the primary election in May, and you can find our complete coverage online at foxbaltimore.com.
Today's bail hearing for the Baltimore man charged with the murder of his girlfriend's 6-year-old son has been postponed. Alexa Ashwell joins us live in studio with what happened in court. And Alexa, we understand there are new questions surrounding a crash that police confirm the suspect was apparently involved in before the murder.
Yes, Kai. First, what happened in court? 32-year-old Alan Jaslecki was scheduled to appear before a judge for his bail hearing today. That did not happen, officials say, because his attorney argued Jaslecki has been sick and they have not had an opportunity to meet with him. Jaslecki is facing first and second-degree murder charges. Investigators say he stabbed and killed his girlfriend's 6-year-old son inside a home in South Baltimore 2 days ago. This GoFundMe page has been started for the child, identified as Saran O'Neill, pictured here in his cap and gown. Investigators have not yet said what they believe led up to the murder. According to court documents, the child was found with multiple stab wounds near a set of stairs on the second floor, and that witnesses identified Jaslecki as the suspect. Now we're learning Jaslecki crashed a car into a pole several hours before the murder, and that someone called 911 to report he appeared to be under the influence. We questioned Baltimore Police Commissioner Richard Worley about this.
It was about 6 hours prior to the incident. There was a call that an officer handled. We saw the body, weren't camera. The officer handled it, asked if he had needed medical attention. He refused, and then the officer moved on, completed the call, and that's all part of their investigation.
BPD says they will let us know if any field sobriety tests were performed on Jaslecki, but he was not taken into custody. As for his bail hearing, I'm told that is expected to happen sometime tomorrow. A time and location has not yet been released.
Alexa, thank you. And Lexi, we understand that you spoke with Commissioner Worley outside federal court, where today's consent decree hearing was held. There's an update on the city's reach for compliance. Is that right?
Yes, Kai. Judge James Berdar ruled the Baltimore Police Department has reached compliance with 2 sections of the federal consent decree. Just last week, the city announced it had reached compliance with the transportation of persons in custody and officer assistance and support. The transportation section, you may recall, significant because, as the judge mentioned during today's hearing, that's how this all began. The death of Freddie Gray back in 2015, leading to the city and BPD being placed under a federal consent decree 2 years later. Commissioner Worley says he's hopeful to reach full compliance during his tenure.
I'm very optimistic. I think if we give our men and women a challenge, they'll accept it. And if we don't, if it takes us 4 years, then it takes us 4 years.
The judge acknowledged the city has a long way to go. There are about 18 sections in total, including staffing. The department remains hundreds of officers short. Alexa Ashwell, Fox 45 News.
The bad rap that Baltimore usually gets, man, it's just going to bring everybody together, you know what I mean, and just have a good time and root our team on. Probably
Well, the countdown is on right now. Baltimore is ready to show its purple pride.
It sure is. Some shelling out hundreds, if not thousands of dollars to cheer on the Ravens.
Fox 45's Amy Simpson is live at M&T Bank Stadium as momentum builds before Sunday's AFC Championship game. Amy?
Yes, and Mary Kai, the weather today really not dampening the energy, the spirit, the excitement here at the stadium. Baltimore is ready for this game.
At M&T Bank Stadium today, preps underway and fans picking out new black and purple with just 3 days until the Ravens take on the Kansas City Chiefs on their home turf.
They really got to bring their A++ game.
The festivities of it. It's like another holiday.
Competing for the AFC Championship and the chance to punch that ticket to Vegas for the Super Bowl.
I'm lucky enough to be going to the game Sunday.
But fans paid how much? To feel the electricity inside the stadium?
I paid $300 for the ticket. The tickets in that section are actually going for $1,200 if you put them online.
Ooh, I'm almost afraid to say it was about 600, a little over 600. That's okay. That's what a good true Ravens fan would do.
A quick glance on SeatGeek for tickets still available today. Cheapest seats we could find going for $426 a piece in the nosebleeds. But a ticket front row behind the Ravens bench, that'll cost you nearly $3,000. And Baltimore's not only buzzing about football.
Plus you got an added thing with Taylor coming to town, right?
Many suspecting a famous Chiefs girlfriend might be coming to town too.
Taylor Swift, welcome to our great city of Baltimore.
Residents at Brightview Senior Living in White Marsh sharing welcoming words and local tips for Taylor Swift.
You must go to the aquarium.
Go get yourself a burger cookie.
But are fans unsure about how the team will do?
No! Everybody's behind them. They keep playing like they're playing, they can win this. They can go all the way.
I think like a 27-13 win for the Ravens.
Oh, Ravens all the way, baby. Ravens all the way. 35-20.
Go Ravens!
Yeah, a lot of great energy here today, and fans continue to come here to M&T Bank Stadium, the pop-up shop, to buy gear, and Ravens paraphernalia open again tomorrow and Saturday from 10 to 7. We're live tonight. Amy Simpson, Fox 45 News.
Amy, thank you. Well, coming up after the break, as fans get ready to show off their purple pride, the team is hard at work. We're giving you some workouts that will make you feel part of the flock.
Plus, the Kansas City Chiefs aren't the only ones coming to Charm City. We could see a global pop star as well. A local business provides Swifties all the merch they need this weekend.
And unfortunately, we're also tracking more rain moving in for the weekend. First, we've got to get through tonight's rain, and then we'll talk about what's coming for the game this weekend, too. I'll break down all your rain chances in more detail in just a couple of minutes.
Well, here's a live look at M&T Bank Stadium on the left side of your screen as the Ravens gear up to host the AFC Championship game this Sunday, taking on the Kansas City Chiefs. Now, the game is days away, and we know players are certainly ready. Be More lifestyle host Mark Clark headed to Planet Fitness in Reisterstown this morning in Baltimore County to work out like a Raven.
We're Planet Fitness, and if you're like me, you want to be ready if the Ravens call you into action this weekend. So Teddy's going to take us through some drills so we're ready. So I'm giving you the mic,
right.
Teddy. What are we going to do?
That's right. It's all about agility and speed, right? So we got to chop our feet up, right? Now we got to move forward, Mike. And the whole thing that we doing right here, Mark, is we getting blood flow all the way from our fingertips to the toes, and we ready to take on that blocker. But then now, so we got to do laterally. So let's chop. Let's go 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Now look at that. You didn't even know you could move like that, Mocha. Maybe you did. But now you ready to take on 1st and 10, 2nd and 10, 3rd and 10. All right. 4th and 10. You're not even punting, right? 4th and 1. Now let's put our feet together because you got to be able to bound out. So let's jump out left. And let's go right and left. And right, and we keep moving in this way. And I know it feels like you might be doing an electric slide, but I promise you, you are connecting exercise to functional movement. And then after the game, once we win on Sunday, then we can party and we do these same moves.
Let's go Super Bowl.
That's right. That's right.
Great job, Teddy. Let's get ready in case we're called into action this weekend. Mark Clark, Fox 45 News. Where's the water? Towel, please.
Great job, Mark. Good workout. Well, fans are certainly excited for the Ravens game, and Swifties, well, they're excited too because Taylor Swift might make an appearance right here in Charm City. You know who's she here to see? Travis Kelce, and the Ravens are not going to take it easy on him. Well, today on Fox 45 Morning News, we got a first-hand look at some NFL-inspired Taylor supplies you can stock up on this weekend.
We have everything for all Taylor Swift fans.
Okay.
And Taylor herself. We have a special sweatshirt for Taylor.
Taylor's, that's cute.
Some of our best sellers are the To-Do Taylor notepad, our tote bag, of course, the mug.
Okay.
We have all kinds of stickers for all the Swifties, key rings.
The only one that we can't sell today, I'm sorry, is this one that says "Go Taylor's Boyfriend." We can't. We're going to turn that one over.
Okay, go ahead. That's
all
fine.
the other stuff is good.
Yes, definitely. So yeah, and just in case once Taylor is here, you know, she wants to switch over on the other side, the purple side, she can join us. We made this specially for her.
There you go, Taylor. We have something for you. You can come by the station and we'll give it to you.
Yeah, Ravens fans are not rooting for Travis. That's just a fact. Many of you are sharing your purple pride with us. On the left, Tanya sent us this adorable picture of her granddaughter getting ready for Sunday's game. In the middle, Sharon sent us this picture of her pug named Raven, all decked out in purple. Very cute, Raven. And on the right, Nicole shared her purple pride with us this Purple Thursday. Very nice. We love it, Nicole. Thank you. Now, whether you're heading to the stadium or you're going to a watch party or hosting a game at or a watch party at your own house, we want to see how you're cheering on the Ravens. Scan that QR code on your screen. That will take you to foxbaltimore.com, where you can upload all your pictures and videos. It's all powered by Stackler. Amy.
Yeah, and we are talking about the weather for this weekend too, Kai.
That's right. And look, Amy, you were talking about it yesterday. That fog rolled in, did it?
It sure did, yeah.
So how much of a factor was the snow versus the cold ground? Where did all this fog come from?
Yeah, all of that played a role in why we saw the fog. And we'll actually see it again because the warmer air is moving in still tonight and the ground is still kind of cold. So that's why we're seeing the air condense and form the fog particles. Right now, it doesn't look too bad in Towson, just kind of gray and gloomy and a little damp out there. We are hanging out in the very mild mid-50s. So you can feel that mild air that's moved in. Kind of feels like early spring. Close to 60 degrees right now, actually, at the airport. These temperatures are well above where they were 24 hours ago, just by a little bit, by about 15 to 20 degrees in most locations. So it actually feels pretty comfy out there. But we do have more rain on the way. We've got this front that's slinking its way on through, sending us multiple rounds of showers. We've got another one coming this evening, another one tonight, and then a brief break before the rain arrives again this weekend. Let's talk timing here. We get one coming through in the next hour or so, and then another one later tonight around 11 o'clock. After that, it's just overcast with a couple of brief showers tomorrow morning. The rest of your Friday is actually dry, so we have a chance to catch our breath, regroup, and dry out before the weekend rain arrives. I do think tomorrow's going to be another mild day. I think these numbers on this forecast model, a little low. I think we should break into the low 60s tomorrow. And then after that, we're watching another round of rain. I think that next one holds off until Saturday evening. So Saturday is a little cooler. We're back in the 50s. And then here comes the showers pushing in from the south and west, rolling through overnight Saturday through early Sunday, with actually most of it coming through on Sunday. So for tonight, it's kind of damp and dreary, still some on and off showers with temperatures in the mild low 50s. Fog will be an issue again tomorrow morning. So if you're doing anything to celebrate Purple Friday, be prepared for reduced visibilities. It's overcast for much of the day with temperatures making their way into the very mild low 60s during the afternoon. And then we've got that chance for rain this weekend. So here's a closer look at it. It arrives Saturday night. Looks like on and off showers for your Sunday morning if you plan to head to M&T Bank Stadium early. As we zip ahead to kickoff, you'll notice some light rain at that point. On the backside of the system, it wraps up with a few wet snowflakes. So that will be overnight Sunday into early Monday. I don't think we're talking accumulations here, but it is a sign of that cooler air coming in behind this system early next week. So here's a breakdown of that Ravens forecast. I did tweak our numbers just a little bit, and I did lower them. So keep that in mind if you're heading to the game. Layers will be a great idea, along with a poncho or a rain jacket, because we are tracking rainy conditions. Scattered showers through halftime, and then breezy to wrap things up, with temperatures in the cool low 40s at that point. So taking a look at all these rain chances, rain chance number 1 wraps up tomorrow morning early. Rain chance number 2 gets started Saturday evening, overnight Saturday right into Sunday. That one will wrap up early Monday with a few wet flakes mixing in. After that, we're dry for the second half of the week, dry and more seasonable, so temperatures won't be as warm next week. We settle back into the low and mid 40s, and that takes us through at least next Thursday.
Amy, thank you. Coming up at 5 o'clock, bombshell testimony in the Marilyn Mosby trial. What we learned as City Council President Nick Mosby took the stand.
Need a little help losing weight? I'm Liz Bonus. We're going to tell you about a new trial testing a pill. We'll share it just ahead.
Researchers are looking for volunteers to test a pill to lose weight. Medical reporter Liz Bonus shares how you can sign up at no cost.
Hey there, everybody. If you need help losing weight, researchers have just launched one of the largest trials on a drug already approved for weight loss in the United States. They're now looking at this drug. It's a pill to test for an additional purpose. Velocity Clinical Research, which offers sites all across the country, focuses on getting medications from early stage research to market. It's taking part in this study on a medication called Contrave. The FDA approved its use for medical weight loss about 10 years ago, so it has been well established for safety. Now the FDA requiring additional cardiac testing because they want to compare how well the drug works in those who are at increased risk for heart problems or who have diabetes. It's to make sure it is a well-tolerated drug in this population.
The FDA is doing some cardiac safety studies, so it's called post-marketing research, and we're going to perform that comparing people who take the medication and placebo to see do they have any major adverse cardiac events, or called MACE. So we monitor that, but you have a 50-50 chance of receiving this medication approved for weight loss, and it works on some brain neurochemistry, both on dopamine and from the hypothalamus.
So we're looking for people who are overweight, a BMI 27 or higher, and then people who have some sort of additional cardiovascular risk. That could be type 2 diabetes, that could be high cholesterol, high blood pressure, people who've had a previous heart attack or stroke, or might have had a stent placed. Any of those things would probably qualify you for this study.
If you are interested in taking part in any of the studies at Velocity Clinical Research, even this one, 513-381-3320 can direct you to a site near you. We also have a link online, and those who qualify go through rigorous screening. Studies expected to last about 3 years. With your health news, I'm Liz Bonus reporting.
And now let's take a look at that weekend forecast. Unfortunately, we've got more rain on the way as round 1 wraps up really early Friday morning. Round 2 gets started Saturday evening. So temperatures are all over the place. They peak tomorrow in the low to mid 60s. Then they fall back into the 50s on Saturday. Most of Saturday is dry. It's Saturday evening that rain returns, and then showers are likely on Sunday leading up to the Ravens game. I think a light, steady rain throughout that game. Plus, it's going to be breezy and noticeably cooler, too, to wrap up the weekend with temperatures only in the mid-40s by Sunday. Kai?
Amy, thank you. Coming up on Fox 45 News at 5 o'clock, Ravens fans are shelling out big bucks for tickets, but some sellers are trying to steal your money, apparently. What you need to know to protect yourself from scams. And City Council President Nick Mosby takes responsibility for tax errors in his testimony. What his comments mean for both sides in Marilyn Mosby's mortgage fraud trial. A 15-year-old convicted of rape allowed back inside of a school. The latest from a Project Baltimore investigation as Fox 45 News takes a closer look at the lack of accountability for juveniles.
Baltimore City Council President Nick Mosby on the stand in his ex-wife's federal trial. What his testimony is revealing about who handled the couple's finances.
And we're 3 days away from the AFC Championship game in Baltimore. We have live team coverage on everything you need to know ahead of the big day.
Live from WBFF in Baltimore, this is Fox 45 News at 5.
If I get caught, I'm going to participate.
City Council President Nick Mosby on the stand for hours today, testifying in his ex-wife's mortgage fraud trial. Thank you for joining us today. I'm Mary Bubala.
And I'm Kai Jackson. The 2 counts of mortgage fraud stem from Marilyn Mosby's purchase of 2 Florida vacation homes.
Fox 45's Mackenzie Frost's been following the legal battle for 2 years now. And Mackenzie, you spent the day in the courthouse in Greenbelt. You've come out now as testimony is just starting to wrap up for the day. We talked to you at 4. Nick Mosby was about to be cross-examined. Is that happening?
Yeah, we actually just finished cross-examination of the City Council president for the day. And I have to tell you, Mary and Kai, it was getting pretty feisty, testy at some points as well. This council president was talking over the prosecutor. The prosecutor was talking over the council president. At one point, the judge had to tell everyone in the room to bring the temperature down just because that's how tense some of this questioning really started. And going back to the start of the day, the council president was called to testify on behalf of the defense around 10 o'clock this morning, and that's when he really detailed some of the issues regarding the family's tax issues. The council president said that he takes full responsibility for the tax debt for the family. He also says that he did not tell Marilyn Mosby the details of that, but then during cross-examination we just found out that Marilyn Mosby may have been aware of the tax debt dating back to 2015. And now going back to the tax lien issue, that's really where the council president's testimony was really centered around whether or not he told her about the tax lien. He says he didn't, and that she actually found out in between purchasing both the Florida home in Kissimmee and before she purchased the home in Longboat Key. Nick Mosby says that the family was at the home in the Orlando area on a family trip, but that's when a reporter actually texted Marilyn Mosby asking her about the tax lien. He says that's when she found out about it. But throughout the entire day, we've heard some contradicting statements from the council president, and I really expect the government, the assistant U.S. attorneys, to really hone in on that as the cross-examination is expected to continue next week. Kai?
Mackenzie, what about that $5,000 that Mr. Mosby says he gave to Marilyn Mosby to help with the closing on that home in Longboat Key? Where did that stand?
Yeah, if you remember, that really has to do with the fact that Marilyn Mosby wanted to take advantage of an interest rate, a favorable interest rate, but she didn't have enough money for the closing costs. So Nick Mosby says that he was willing to give her the $5,000 to help close that deficit that she needed in her finances. And there was a flow chart that was presented to the jury showing actually Nick Mosby did not have the $5,000 that he was going to give to her. So Marilyn Mosby gave him the $5,000 and then he shuffled it around before wiring it so she could actually close on that property. And this is just some of the intense and really detail-oriented testimony that the jury is really having to pay attention to. And it looks like court is wrapping up, so I'm going to figure out what it comes next. We know that court doesn't usually sit on Friday, so we could be back here for more cross-examination of the council president come Monday. We're live in Greenbelt. Mackenzie Frost, Fox 45 News.
Mackenzie, thank you. Nick Mosby testifying today that he knew about the tax lien on the home he shared with Marilyn Mosby, and he kept that information from her. But when Fox 45 News asked Nick about the tax lien earlier last year, he repeatedly denied it existed.
Mr. Council President, hi.
I'm sorry, we're running a boat check.
Yeah,
you guys over there?
I just wanted to ask you really quick. You've denied the existence of your tax lien on your property multiple times.
I have not multiple times.
Can you say that this is the actual lien on your property?
You can talk to my attorney.
No, Tom, there's no lien placed on my home right now. There was never a lien on my property. This is not a lien on the property. There was never a lien that was rendered on my property. There is no lien on my property. There's never been a lien on my property. It's not a lien on my property. I don't have a property lien.
For our full coverage on the Mosby trial and the latest developments from court, head to foxbaltimore.com.
Fox 45 News is following breaking news right now. And Brandon Scott has appointed Stephanie Mavronis as the permanent director of Monzi effective immediately. Mavronis became interim director in June after former director Shantae Jackson stepped down. Mavronis was right behind her. Tonight at 10 o'clock, we'll take a closer look at what this could mean for the future of Monzi and other controversies.
A lot of sex offenders are very opportunistic, and putting them in a school, there's a lot of opportunity there.
Outrage tonight over a Project Baltimore investigation that found a convicted rapist was allowed to attend a Baltimore City public school.
And this is just the latest example of a lack of consequences for juvenile offenders in Maryland.
We have team coverage tonight, starting with Project Baltimore's Chris Papps. He explains under current state laws, some juvenile sex offenders are allowed to be in class with other students, meaning there could be more.
Kai, this is eye-opening data just released by the Department of Juvenile Services, which shows statewide juveniles were charged with about 338 felony sex offenses in fiscal year 2023. We can't see how many individuals were charged, just the number of offenses. Out of the charges that have been resolved, about 12 resulted in juveniles being committed to a DJS facility, while about 48 resulted in probation, meaning the juveniles who committed those 48 sex offenses could have ended up back in school. Just like the 15-year-old student at Patterson High School who received probation for sexually abusing a 3-year-old relative in May 2023. Records show the 15-year-old entered a plea in Harford County to second-degree rape, a charge that does involve intercourse. But he was not sent to juvenile detention. Instead, DJS recommended probation and counseling for sex offense-specific treatment. As a convicted rapist, he was ordered to have no unsupervised contact with children under 15. In January, just days after entering his plea, the now convicted rapist returned to class at Patterson High School in Baltimore City. Lisa Jordan, the executive director of the Maryland Coalition Against Sexual Assault, has been an advocate for sex abuse victims for more than 20 years and says it's important for Maryland to not forget about the victims.
You know, I think it's very important that we protect juvenile justice, that we are respectful of all children, but the way the regulations have been written in this situation, they don't seem to take victims into account at all. Second-degree rape, that's a serious charge.
Coming up tonight on Fox 45 News at 10, a closer look at the juvenile offense data provided by DJS. We'll also tell you specifically what Jordan says Maryland needs to do to keep students safer in public schools. I'm Chris Papps, and this is Project Baltimore.
Project Baltimore also wants to hear from you. Do you have a story to share about your child's education or concern that you'd like our team to investigate? Call the tip line on your screen or send an email to projectbaltimore@foxbaltimore.com. You can also find us on social media.
Well, parents and victims across the state are sharing similar concerns, many of whom are now calling for a change to the criminal justice system to give victims more protection under the law. Tonight, Fox 45's Rebecca Pryor speaking with legal experts about what specific changes they believe should be made. She joins us live now with the very latest. Rebecca.
Mary, time and time again, Fox 45 is hearing from victims who say that DJS isn't doing enough to hold their attackers accountable. It's leaving them to live in fear while their offenders walk free, a problem that legal experts tell me is up to lawmakers to solve.
I wouldn't wish what we have gone through on my worst enemy.
Fearing for her daughter's safety, a Baltimore mother shielding her identity as she sounds the alarm on a juvenile justice system she says failed to protect her child and others.
This juvenile offender is allowed to continue to live his life completely normal.
According to court documents, her child's 15-year-old convicted rapist legally allowed to return to class at Patterson High School without notifying parents and students.
The court pretty much gave him a slap on the wrist. There was no justice for my child.
He tackled me and then punched me in the head and I got kicked.
3 months ago, another victim of violence speaking out.
I was afraid I was going to get shot because you just don't know, you know?
Surveillance video capturing a brazen attack in Butchers Hill. A woman assaulted and robbed. Police later arresting a 12 and 14-year-old who they say attempted to steal the woman's car. Just 2 hours later, the victim claiming a DJS supervisor, calling to tell her the suspects had been released.
The law, I'm pissed off at the law.
Frustrations echoed by police and prosecutors across the state.
They come in, we can't detain them, they're back in the community the next day.
Our problem is the system, and the laws just aren't working.
The message that the Department of Juvenile Services is sending youthful offenders is that
you will not be held if you commit violent crime.
According to local attorney Jeremy Eldridge, under the new juvenile justice reform laws, DJS's newfound authority to release young offenders instead of referring all cases to a judge or the state's attorney is what's repeatedly leading to a lack of accountability.
It used to be, under the prior administration, that if an individual was charged with a firearms offense as a juvenile, that they were automatically held. And with this new law, it took away the state's attorney's ability to come in and say, I disagree with the DJS decision to not prosecute and to divert the case.
Recent DJS decisions raising red flags for the state's attorney include an 11-year-old arrested 13 times for stealing cars. Officers writing, due to his age, he was released without charge.
There's nothing the law will allow us to do to hold them accountable, and they're doing whatever they want.
And in the case of 18-year-old Tristan Jackson, who's facing nearly 60 counts of attempted murder and gun charges in connection to the city's worst mass shooting in history, a DJS representative present as public defenders requested Jackson be transferred to a juvenile facility.
I've talked to other criminal defense attorneys who looked at this and, I mean, jaws hit the floor.
Local attorney and activist Yuripsi Morgan arguing the leniency of DJS leadership sets a dangerous precedent.
There's no reason that the residents should be the ones that are afraid. It should be the criminals who are afraid of getting in trouble. But there is this massive disconnect, and it is making residents less safe.
Both Eldridge and Morgan warning, until the laws are amended to reinstate clear consequences, the consequence of rising juvenile crime will continue to be felt statewide.
And those new juvenile justice reform laws, they went into effect just June of last year. Already since then, police and prosecutors have been reporting historically high juvenile crime rates across the city. Reporting live in the control room, Rebecca Pryor, Fox 45 News.
Rebecca, thank you. And that brings us to our question of the day. Are lawmakers protecting juveniles or the general public? So far, 97% of those who voted say juveniles. You can make your voice heard by heading to foxbaltimore.com/vote.
Concerns over school safety were also front and center at Baltimore City Hall last night. Students voiced their fears on both crimes surrounding schools and the number of guns being brought into the classroom.
We can have more security surrounding the school, or at least by the school. I can feel more safe while I'm in school or not in school.
Representatives from the city state's attorney's office, the Department of Juvenile Services, the Baltimore Police Department, and City School CEO Dr. Sonia Santelises were in attendance. Fox 45 News pressed Dr. Santelises for answers on how she's working to secure classrooms and improve student safety.
We are working on and have done a lot of work on cameras and weapons detection. We're also actively recruiting school police officers because we know that a lot of the challenges are also right outside the school building or up into the school building.
Well, the council also questioned Dr. Santelises on the effort to replace retiring Chief of Police Akil Ham. When asked if she has consulted city police on his replacement, she said it's an ongoing process the school system is working on. Well, right now, you're taking a live look right now at our weather radar. You know, it looks kind of gray out there today, but the temperature was wonderful. So, you know what? That's how things go. We did see on and off showers throughout our area, and it looks like the rain isn't going away anytime soon. Going to check in with meteorologist Amy Aronson. Amy, I had a question for you and Mary. Would you guys rather today gloomy and rainy and 60 or 25 degrees and sunny? What do you want?
Ooh, I'd take today.
I'm with you. I'll take today.
Yes.
Yeah. I'll take it.
Yeah.
I'll take it. I'm the same as you. I'll take this.
It's a nice treat. Yeah, in the middle of January, these like little bursts of spring are actually kind of nice. And tomorrow's not going to be bad because it's not really going to be wet. Plus, it's still going to be mild. So the best of both worlds. So take advantage of it because here's a preview of what's coming for the Ravens game on Sunday. If only these mild temperatures will stick around. Not going to be the case. At kickoff, we're at 45 degrees with rain showers at that point. On and off showers, breezy throughout the game with temperatures eventually falling into the low 40s by the end of it. So if you're planning on what to bring to M&T Bank Stadium, rain jackets, purple sweatshirts, purple rain boots, purple hats, all the purple, but do make sure you layer up because it's going to be chilly and damp out there come Sunday. Now, coming up in just a couple of minutes, I'll talk you through the timeline for the rain this weekend and also let you know exactly what to expect next week, too. Mary, Kai?
Amy, thank you. New questions surrounding a suspect's car crash hours before being accused of killing a child. What we're learning tonight about the hours leading up to a 6-year-old's death.
Will Sheila Dixon's crime plan win her support from Baltimore residents? Breaking down the mayoral candidate's new vision for public safety.
And the Ravens AFC Championship showdown is days away. We're tracking everything you need to know about the matchup, from the weather to ticket prices.
Well, ahead of the AFC Championship game, Ravens players and coaches are getting some special honors from the NFL. Lamar Jackson is one of the 5 finalists for league MVP. The star quarterback has racked up more than 3,600 passing yards and 820 yards on the ground. He also scored 29 touchdowns. And head coach John Harbaugh also getting some recognition from the league. He is one of the 5 finalists for Coach of the Year. The Super Bowl winning coach led the Ravens to an NFL best record and the 4th AFC Championship game under his tenure. And we are just 3 days now from when the Ravens will take on the Kansas City Chiefs for the right to head to the Super Bowl. This is a live look at the stadium. It is so foggy out there. I had to really look closely. We can only see that M&T Bank Stadium. The game is this weekend. It's important, really the most important that has ever been played in the city for the Ravens. Fox 45 has team coverage tracking everything from how the team is preparing to the weather we're expecting for the game on Sunday. Let's go to Amy with more.
Yeah, so Mary, one fan today describing this to me as potentially the biggest game ever played in Baltimore. But to get inside the stadium to watch the game, it will cost you. We took a peek today at SeatGeek online just to check and see what kind of tickets were still available today. And the cheapest seats that we could find going for $426 a piece, and that's in the nosebleeds. But a ticket front row behind the Ravens bench, that'll cost you nearly $3 grand. And 2 fans I spoke with here at the stadium today, they were buzzing with excitement to have a seat inside to cheer on the Ravens.
I paid $300 for the ticket. The tickets in that section are actually going for $1,200 if you put them online.
Ooh, I'm almost afraid to say it was about 600, a little over 600, but that's okay. That's what a good true Ravens fan would do.
Yep, a lot of positive energy and excitement here, and fans continue to arrive here at M&T Bank Stadium to get that Ravens gear ahead of the weekend. The official pop-up shop is open here again tomorrow and Saturday from 10 until 7. Reporting live tonight, Amy Simpson, Fox 45 News.
Amy, thank you. And as Amy just mentioned, ticket prices have skyrocketed both in person and online. And while you may think those online tickets are safer to buy, Angie Barnett from the Better Business Bureau says there are still some dangers to keep an eye out for.
You have less scalpers, but you still have scammers. High demand, limited supply. You're going to have scammers go out there. So what you're going to avoid is going to fake websites. So if you think don't put in your browser cheap tickets. You're going to get the fake websites. Be really smart. Go to the ticket resellers, but most importantly, go to Ravens. Go to their website, because the fake website scammers are setting them up just to simply get your credit card information.
The Better Business Bureau also recommends you avoid paying for tickets through a person-to-person app like Cash App or Venmo. And some of you have been sending us your Purple Pride pictures, showing us what you're doing to support the team. This picture from George and his friends, all geared up to battle the elements during the Ravens game last week. And Will sent in this picture of his dog, River, already wearing his Ravens jersey, looking ahead to Sunday's AFC Championship game, of course, in the snow that is pretty much now gone. Well, whether you're heading down to the stadium or going to a watch party, we want to see how you're cheering on the Ravens. Scan the QR code right there on your screen. It'll take you to foxbaltimore.com, where you can upload your pictures and videos. It is all powered by Statler.
And let's start off with a little weather history, talking about the last time the AFC Championship game was here in Baltimore, January 3rd, 1971. The high temperature that day was 42 degrees. The low temperature that day was 27. So actually a pretty typical January day for that game. Plus it was dry, so they didn't have to worry about any rain. Not going to be the case this year, of course. Right now we're dealing with the fog. You can barely see M&T Bank Stadium in the distance there. So fog is really thickening again, along with a little bit of rain that's also pushing into the region, making for a messy drive home this evening. Temperatures are mild at least, so that's the silver lining. We've got the mild air pushing in and taking over. Temperatures in the mid-50s right now. And that mild air is actually the reason behind the fog. Mild air is flowing over the cooler air at the ground along with the moisture, and that's causing air to condense and create the fog particles, the teeny tiny droplets that reduce visibilities. Right now on our fog tracker, it's not picking up on a lot of it, but we are down to a mile across the bay, and then up in northeastern parts of the state too, just about a mile visibility there. But we are seeing the fog on our cameras, so definitely keep an eye out for that as you venture out this evening. And we've got more rain on the way. You'll notice lots of rain off to our south and west. We've got a couple of rounds of showers that will still push through before the night is over. One is pushing through right now, pretty light in intensity on our weather map, but we've got more on the way. So I think that next round comes close to 11 o'clock tonight. We're drier for your Friday morning, but we're still dealing with some fog, so be careful because of that. The rest of the day looks drier and actually still mild before this cold front pushes through. Behind that front, cooler air will work its way back in for the weekend. Saturday starts off dry, but here comes that next round of rain. Arriving Saturday evening, heaviest rain overnight Saturday through early Sunday morning, and then showers, on and off showers Sunday afternoon for the Ravens game. As that system wraps out of here overnight Sunday into Monday morning, you'll notice some blue stuff trying to appear. That's some wet flakes mixing in with the chilly rain as that wraps out of here by daybreak on Monday. Lots happening over the next couple of days. First, for your Purple Friday, it's going to be mild with temperatures in the low 60s. Not as mild on Saturday. We're back in the low 50s with rain returning late, and then showers will be ongoing. Breezy showers will be ongoing for your Sunday, actually, with temperatures in the cool mid-40s. Lots of rain chances still in your 7-day forecast, especially for the first half of it. Rain wraps up early tomorrow along with the fog. After that, a break from it, and then more moves in overnight Saturday into Sunday. That wraps up early Monday, and after that, we are dry Tuesday through Thursday and much more seasonable too, with temperatures settling back into the low and mid-40s.
Coming up, we're continuing our team coverage of the AFC Championship game, how the team is welcoming a slew of iconic players back for the game.
I'm Morgan Atson, Owings Mills. There's only one way to describe the Ravens as they are 3 days out from the AFC Championship. Confident. That's next on Sports Unlimited. There's one big feel about this Ravens team when we watch them at practice and speak to them in the locker room at the team's facility in Owings Mills. It's a confident group. Rightfully so. Just 3 days out from the AFC Championship, the Ravens know they were the best team in the regular season that ran through playoff competition and plan to do the same to Kansas City on Sunday. As far as the Ravens see it, the Chiefs are standing in their way.
As a human being, like, if something is in your way and you've been dreaming for something your entire life, busting your tail day in and day out for something, and are you going to allow something to stop you? You're going to give everything in your human power to make sure that that's not the case. And that's how we look at it. And I know we're going to play that way every given play. So tune in Sunday. Get your popcorn ready.
Going against the former champions, you're going against dynasty that is, I mean, they've been phenomenal. The numbers and all that speak for itself. So we know that we have a heavy challenge ahead of us, and I think everybody in here is excited about it.
One more win and the Ravens will get that trip to the Super Bowl. Also happening Super Bowl week are NFL honors. The Ravens have multiple nominees for AP awards, including quarterback Lamar Jackson up for MVP and Offensive Player of the Year. John Harbaugh up for Coach of the Year, and both his coordinators, Todd Monken and Mike McDonald, are up for Assistant Coaches of the Year. Reporting in Owings Mills, I'm Morgan Atzit for Sports Unlimited.
Sheila Dixon pitching voters her new crime plan. Fox 45 presses her on how she plans to crack down on violent crime, car thefts, and other key public safety concerns. And looking into DJS head Vincent Schiraldi's past shows a history of controversy, why some are concerned with what they call a soft on crime approach.
Crime is hurting our neighborhoods and businesses, deterring investment, and stunning our growth. Most importantly, Baltimoreans don't feel safe in their own communities.
Mayoral candidate and former Mayor Sheila Dixon unveiled her public safety plan today and how she plans to reduce crime in Baltimore.
A key theme of her message, accountability. Fox 45's Jessica Babb live at City Hall for us tonight with plans, what Mayor Dixon plans to do if she is reelected. Jessica?
Sheila Dixon says she plans on addressing staffing issues with Baltimore police, making sure DJS is adequately funded and positions are filled, and she wants to invest in youth programs to make sure they can be connected to the resources they need. But I also asked her about existing crime reduction programs and if she has plans to change them.
Good morning.
Behind the podium,
there's nothing more important to the long-term health of our city than improving public safety.
Mayoral candidate Sheila Dixon addressing her plan for public safety.
The time for excuses is over. We need to raise our expectations. My neighborhood crime plan will make Baltimoreans safe.
Her message?
It's all about accountability. We need to be accountable from the mayor. Accountability, accountability, accountable leadership.
Summed up with one word.
For me, it's about accountability.
Her public safety plan includes focusing on using data and intelligence, using the gun offenders registry to follow up with people with gun crimes, and using a deterrence model to reduce crime.
We will go after the most violent offenders. We will target policing resources with a laser approach to prevent these individuals from reoffending.
When asked what she plans to do with safe streets, she says she'll reassess it.
It definitely needs to be evaluated. With the recent incidents that just happened at 2 of the sites, you know, we've got to really focus on those individuals that are hired, the accountability, and the public needs to kind of know more about what's going on. When they're out there, what are they doing?
With community concerns about the effectiveness of the group violence reduction strategy since the homicide rate has gone up in the Western District.
For us to have a 28% increase, it shows something totally didn't go right.
Is Brandon Scott's GVRS the right way to attack crime, or do you plan to do something different?
So, I mean, there are a lot of variables about that plan. And one thing that I don't believe in doing is playing with numbers. And I know that there's other efforts going on in West Baltimore as well. And so again, it's about collaborating, so it's taking the good and building on that.
If she decides to, I asked what she would replace GVRS with.
It's really about assessing the current system and then determine what it would be replaced with.
Do you think the current systems, whether it be Safe Streets or GVRS, are working?
Well, all I know is that ROCA seems to be working very successfully, and there have been a lot of challenges with Safe Streets. And so for me, it's like it might be helping ROCA to expand since they're producing some real good results.
When it comes to quality of life crimes,
we're not seeing any citations or interactions around those issues.
Are you going to push police to make arrests in lower level crime so Ivan Bates' citation docket works?
So with that, with the docket and with the citations, that's not about arrests. That's about making individuals accountable and looking at some of the quality of life issues. And our police department needs to step up with that process.
So will you make sure police enforce those?
Oh, definitely. I think that's going to be a great tool where you're not arresting for quality of life crimes, but you're making folks, you're engaging them, and that's accountability.
And even though the focus of her message was clear,
we need accountability.
When I asked specifically how she plans to hold people accountable,
city government needs to be open 5 days a week. Our police department, when they're out in those communities, they need to be engaged and involved.
In her plan, she also outlined numerous efforts to make sure police, officials, and community partners are engaged and are working together to solve the problem. Jessica Babb, Fox 45.
Jessica, thank you. Ms. Dixon's plan comes just weeks after Brandon Scott unveiled his own goals for 2024. In his announcement, the mayor touted a drop in homicides and shootings, saying his holistic crime-fighting strategies were responsible for the dip in violence last year. In 2023, the city had fewer than 300 people killed for the first time in almost a decade. The milestone comes 2 years after Mayor Scott's originally promised a deadline. According to political analyst Richard Vatz, crime reductions could have come sooner if Mayor Scott would have held former City State's Attorney Marilyn Mosby accountable for her controversial no prosecution of low-level crimes.
He appears to genuinely want to reduce violence,
but he doesn't appear to ever be willing to take courageous steps, one of which would be when he had a totally irresponsible state's attorney, he wouldn't say anything. He wouldn't say anything even half critical of her until she's out of office.
VAT says the decrease in crime last year was also due in part to the success of Baltimore City State's Attorney Ivan Bates and U.S. Attorney for Maryland Eric Barron's tough-on-crime approach.
Today's bail hearing for the Baltimore man charged with the murder of his girlfriend's 6-year-old son has been postponed.
Alexa Ashwell joins us live in studio with what happened in court. And Alexa, we understand there are questions surrounding a crash that police confirmed the suspect was involved in before the murder.
Yes, Kai and Mary. First, what happened in court. 32-year-old Alan Jaslicki was scheduled to appear before a judge for his bail hearing today. That did not happen, officials say, because his attorney argued he had been sick and they have not had an opportunity to meet with him. Jaslicki is facing first and second-degree murder charges. Investigators say he stabbed and killed his girlfriend's 6-year-old son inside a home in South Baltimore 2 days ago. This GoFundMe page has been started for the child, identified as Saron O'Neill, pictured here in his cap and gown. Investigators have not yet said what they believe led up to the murder. According to court documents, the child was found with multiple stab wounds near the set of stairs on the second floor, and that witnesses identified Jaslicki as the suspect. Well, now we're learning Jaslicki crashed a car into a pole several hours before the murder, and that someone called 911 to report he appeared to be under the influence. We questioned Baltimore Police Commissioner Richard Worley about this.
It was about 6 hours prior to the incident. There was a call that an officer handled. We saw the body, weren't camera. The officer handled it, asked if he had needed medical attention. He refused, and then the officer moved on, completed the call, and that's all part of their investigation.
BBD says they will let us know if any field sobriety tests were performed on Jaslicki, but he wasn't taken into custody. As for his bail hearing, I'm told that it is expected to happen sometime tomorrow. A time and location has not yet been released.
And Alexa, you also spoke with Commissioner Worley outside federal court where today's consent decree hearing was held. There's an update, we understand, in the city's reach for compliance, which has been a bit of an issue.
Yes, Judge James Bradar ruled the Baltimore Police Department has reached compliance with 2 sections of the federal consent decree. Just last week, the city announced it had reached compliance with the transportation of persons in custody and the officer assistance and support. The transportation section, as you know, significant because the judge mentioned during today's hearing that's how this all began. The death of Freddie Gray in 2015, leading to the city and BPD being placed under a federal consent decree 2 years later. Commissioner Worley says he's hopeful to reach full compliance during his tenure.
I'm very optimistic. I think if we give our men and women a challenge, they'll accept it. And if we don't, if it takes us 4 years, then it takes us 4 years.
The judge during the hearing acknowledging the city has a long way to go. There are about 18 sections in total, including staffing. The department remains hundreds of officers short. Alexa Ashwell, Fox 45 News.
Critics are arguing that policies within DJS are contributing to a lack of consequences for young people. Secretary Vincent Schiraldi says he doesn't believe young people should be in adult prisons until age 25. He also opposes parole and probation, saying they don't rehabilitate young offenders. Fox 45's Jeff Abel is taking a closer look at another voice from Schiraldi's time in D.C. who says his views are short-sighted.
That young people are not just smaller versions of adults. They're not yet fully mature. Their brains are still developing.
When it comes to young offenders, Maryland's Juvenile Services Secretary has long endorsed inspiration over incarceration. When he was director of juvenile corrections in Washington 15 years ago, Vincent Schiraldi oversaw the opening of this new juvenile facility, a place Schiraldi called an anti-prison. But the very day after it opened, a juvenile scaled a wall and escaped. The escape prompted some pointed words from then-Councilwoman Muriel Bowser, writing, "I, too, want the youth in detainment to want to aspire to something other than a life behind bars and cinder-block walls. We must, however, remember they are still inmates and must be secured." A year earlier, an investigation found Schiraldi violated 5 department policies when he brought 3 maximum security offenders to his home for a cookout. One of them escaped out of a basement door and was found 22 days later selling cocaine on the streets of D.C.
You can't sit down with these juveniles and have cupcakes and crumpets and milk. I mean, many of these juveniles, there are more